stream on the you stream it live. Why did I not?
Yeah, I told you that.
Did I know that and forget?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting. I need to. I want to work on boosting that. Okay, we're live on YouTube now. I'm gonna share that on Facebook.
What's your YouTube channel?
YouTube.com/DaveG65.
Oh, okay. Because I'm trying. I went and looked up In Touch with iOS and I can't find anything. So
yeah, because it's still under my personal name.
Gotcha.
Gotta get that going.
That's okay.
Just posted it in Facebook. Back to the Future.
We'll see if Guy comes by and heckles me.
I think he's out of town.
Oh.
Because we missed our show yesterday.
Oh. Right. I told Brittany I was doing the show and she said, oh yeah, I got to do In Touch with iOS once. Just saying.
I haven't. I need to invite her back. Brittany, we'll have you back.
It made me laugh. So.
All right. So let me start this backup recording through Zoom. And let's do audio hijack. Okay. I think we're recording on audio hijack and I think we're ready to go. If you are ready.
Sure.
Let's do it. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 145 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Scalaria, is not here. His pooch is a little under the weather, so we will miss him. But I actually have a great guest this week, and welcome back to Kelly Gaumont from the Mac Observer. How are you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing well, David. How are you?
Doing great. Glad you are back, and we have all kinds of fun things to talk about. Apple's been pretty active this past week, so including this announcement that's coming that they are going to be having an event and all kinds of other stuff. But we will kind of wrap things up towards the end of the show. I have a new car, and I'm going to be talking about CarPlay, and I am so ridiculously excited that I have CarPlay. it's been 7 years in the making, so it's I'm pretty excited about it. So, but let's jump right in here and talk about stuff. And the first article I have from Mac Observer on the news. Mac Observer. I'm sorry. As much as I would have it on Mac Observer, it's really in Mac Rumors. Apple's spring-loaded event was officially announced, which was it was interesting. I guess Siri leaked. She leaked it out before any until Apple finally could actually officially say that the event was happening. So if you would ask the S lady if when Apple plans to hold an event, she responded back and gave you the information. Found that to be rather interesting. I have never seen them do that before. I don't think you have either, right?
No. And I woke up to my timeline saying Apple found the leak and your digital assistant has been fired.
That's great. Yeah.
That was like a whole bunch of people on Twitter, like kind of all at the same time. We're like they were trying to double down on secrecy, and they figured out the call is coming from inside the house, and now she
somehow it leaked out. We don't know why or how, but it happened. But then they officially announced it, and it will be a week from actually this coming Tuesday on April 20th as we record this. Spring loaded. Join us for a special event. It'll be from Apple Park, and we anticipate that it's going to be a highly well produced recording like it was last time from last year. Some of this stuff, since it is remote, no one will be able to go there in person. But it looks like a lot of things we'll expect. There's iPads and potentially iPad Mini and AirTags and anything you seen that they're looking to announce that you've been hearing and what we know?
Well, AirTags. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the iPad Mini. Well, so my theory And for people who don't know, I run a home called Kelly's Home for Crackpot Theories. I've run it for years.
Right.
And so my crackpot theory is that the event was late because there was something they couldn't nail down in 14.5, and the thing that we discovered they were trying to put into 14.5 was location stuff, the Find My, like find, I don't know what they call it, like Find Kit or something, but
Find My.
The Find My stuff that the bicycle company Van Moof, I think, bicycles is going to be utilizing immediately. And so I think like that coming out sort of tips AirTags over into reality, but I think they needed to nail that down before they could give it out to anyone. And I think that's why we've had so many 14.5 betas, and B, haven't had enough didn't get to Find My stuff until very recently, beta 7 or something, and we're on beta 8 now. So I think that's part of why, like, for me, that's what puts AirTags into the lead. I want there to be a mini because I want to feel like Apple's taking the iPad mini seriously again, because I feel like the people who love it really love it, and it should be updated, and I think it's a really valid device for a lot of people. And so I like when they have faith in that and keep it going. I'm curious what they're going to do with the new iPad, because presumably it's the iPad Pro, and what they did last time was LiDAR, which for me myself does not matter in any material way, which either, like, I would buy another Air. Like, the new Air is a very nice looking iPad Air. I'm on the verge. You're about to hold one up, aren't you?
No, I don't have it. I still have a 2018 iPad Pro. I did not upgrade the last round. So
I have the last Lightning iPad Pro. I don't remember which one that is, but that's a while
first gen,
ago.
I think. Yeah.
And then so I don't know what they're gonna do for the next one, but that either means A, I can buy what is right now the latest and greatest iPad Pro, or just finally pull the trigger on an iPad Air. But I've been like, the new iPad Pro has been breathing down our necks for a long enough time that I kind of want to see what's available. So I'm hopeful on that, and most of that comes from I do all my podcast editing on my iPad, and my iPad is a little bit creaky. It's starting to show its age, and so I would like to update that if I could. So we'll see.
Yes, we will.
So I'm curious what they're going to add to it, and the reason I want to know is because I'm curious. I want to know if it's something that I'm interested in. I don't have a need for LiDAR, and I can't find a realistic use case for LiDAR in my world. So if I were to go buy one, if my iPad evaporated, I would probably go buy an Air, because the Air is great. And I was really excited about the last revisions of the Air and the iPad, because the regular iPad now is a really solid device. I used to not be able to recommend it to people unless it was like, I barely use it and that's not changing. Okay, then you can buy a regular iPad, it'll be fine. But you get a lot of iPad now for that amount, of cash.
A pencil.
And supports the pencil, does all of that. That's and honestly, the better pencil and the better pencil interaction is what I'm looking forward to, because I use Ferrite to edit. And that's where I spend a lot of my time on my iPad, is on my iPad with my pencil in Ferrite cutting audio. And when I do that, it would really be nice if my pencil didn't roll off the table. I would like that a lot, because I can only use the first gen. Pencil so
drive me crazy.
Yeah. So fingers crossed we get something new that's gonna be awesome. Otherwise, I'm gonna get a great deal on a LiDAR iPad Pro. It'll be great, right?
Hopefully we'll get some price reductions on those. My
hope, the thing I haven't heard a lot about, but seems to make sense in my mind, and remember, again, I run a home for these theories, is new headphones. Anybody who bought AirPods Pro has used them to death, and the battery is crap in them now. So it's time for them to come out with new ones so that everybody can just go buy a new pair. It's been quite a while since we got the last regular AirPods update, which was iteration 2 lets you talk to it without having to tap, I think. And it comes with the wireless charging case, as part of the headphones. So there's second gen, and it uses that wireless charging case. Those are what I have. And so I would I bought a pair of those and I used a pair of those for a very long time. And Mr. Kelly, I have put them on long-term loan to him because he tried all kinds of true wireless headphones at work for Zoom meetings like this on his work PC. He tried headphone after headphone after headphone. Anything with a cable didn't work because it's a PC. So it's like, way back there and the cable's really long and it gets in the way of everything. So that was hard. Other ones wouldn't stay connected, had crappy battery life, would get connected, but then not stay connected. So he'd be in mid meeting and all of a sudden the meeting is blaring out of his computer and he has to figure out how to, solve it. So, he tried all of them. And then I said, okay, well, you've been through my stock of headphones. So, take these, don't say a word about them to me for a week. I'm giving them to you here Monday morning. On Friday night, let me know how you feel about them. And his biggest complaint about the AirPods connected to a PC. This is the reason I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know anybody that does this. So connected to his Windows machine, his work PC, because you can see behind me, that's a mini. That's Mr. Kelly's mini. I got an M1 and he got a case of M1 fever, and there it is. So he said his complaint about the AirPods is now in all my video meetings, I'm that guy with my fancy Apple headphones on. I'm like, okay, first of all, those aren't the fancy Apple headphones because those have a big headband and they're $500. And so no, and you're not fiddling with them all the time. So they're not the pros, which everybody seems to fidget with a lot when they have them in most of the time, like on video calls and stuff. So if your biggest complaint is like, oh, everybody knows you have a pair of Apple headphones, I think you're fine. So I've just sort of lent them to him because I work at home. I work here by myself, no pets, no children. So I don't have a lot of unexpected background noise. So I can just listen to a Zoom meeting on my speakers and it's fine. So that's what I've been doing for a while. And I don't want to anymore because I miss my headphones. Yeah. So what I really wanted to do was treat myself to a pair of AirPods Pro. I really wanted to treat myself to a pair. And so I'm waiting because then it was because about the time I was like, look, just take these. And then when the Pros come out, I'll get a pair of Pros because I like them. And that was about the time everybody started going March event. So I'm waiting. So I've waited a whole nother month of okay, let's see if we can get the March event in April. And we did. So now I'm really hoping that there's headphones. And if not, next time you have me on the show, I'll just be on with my new AirPod Pros that are,
that's what I'm
one way or another. Yeah. My Apple Card is currently on a regiment of light calisthenics so that it is ready for Tuesday. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably both. You guys will definitely be covering it live as it happens next week on Mac Observer, and I would more than likely, I'm assuming that I'll be doing the event as well, but for Mac Guys only if I hear from Mike Potter. But we'll definitely be covering it and getting everybody up to date to what Apple announces. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Next story. Apple Fitness, they just announced, actually this was announced today as we record this, new Fitness Plus workouts geared specifically towards pregnancy and older adults, as well as several new yoga, high-intensity interval training, HIIT, and strength workouts for beginners. The new workouts looks like are going to be available on April 19th. And the new pregnancy workouts consist of 10 workouts across the strength, core, mindful, and cool down categories. So that's great to see. I'm really excited to see that Apple is really already Fitness Plus has, I don't think is a year old yet, and they're already updating it with more stuff. So this is pretty exciting. What do you think? What do you think?
I like they're expanding. I use Fitness Plus, not as much as I should. I know.
Me, same here.
But I do use it and I do like it. And one thing that I have appreciated is that a lot of the yoga ones and the dance ones, which are the ones I usually do, they have a group of 3 instructors. that are all doing the same, the exercises.
Right.
And then they have the person in the front who's doing something. And then the people in the back are usually like leveled up, like one is leveled up. Like if the person in the middle is doing something and you think it's too easy, do what this person's doing, which is like slightly more complex. And if this one is too much for you, you can do what this person's doing, which is lower intensity or less stretch, or, you know, like less complicated of a bend or whatever. And I've appreciated that they do that for all of them, and that they just state it like it's just this thing. Here you go. And the thing that I like about that is that it gives everybody an opportunity, and it gives you an opportunity through the same workout, because there's some stuff that I can do very easily. And sometimes, like a few years back, I blew out my knee. And so there's some of them that like I will go to do that. And I'm like, no. So at least I still have an option, you know, and like I don't need it for the whole thing, but every once in a while, like what that person's doing that's the lower intensity version, like that's the one I need. So I like that they're just expanding that into other people who want to continue to exercise and stuff. And in this case, I think also props for understanding that there are women doing workouts. Because it was a long time before a lot of women's health features were part of Health Kit, for example, which was really hilarious to me when they would bring out woman after woman to go like, I love my Apple Watch and it does all this great stuff. And I'm like, really? So I'm glad to see that they've got some of that, that they've got somebody like, you know, thinking forward a little bit on some of that stuff. So I like that there are a wider variety of workouts. I still think it's deficient in some ways, but yay for expanding workouts so that more people can do it. Yeah. I want to filter by time, and I want it to be a lot easier to share a workout with somebody and find the one I did last time.
Absolutely.
I wish that there was an easy, if there's history, like I usually use it on the Apple TV primarily. So maybe I'm just missing something in that interface. But I would also like to be able to like do that with another person somehow, you know, like a watch together, but like I'm here and you're there and let's both do the same yoga thing, like would be kind of nice sometimes. I have a friend that occasionally will do yoga with me, and so like we will like call each other on speaker and then let the Apple TV play the workout. We'll each get the workout and be like 1, 2, 3, play, and then we'll, you know, stretch together and stuff, because it's nice to have somebody to do that with. Absolutely. Even though you can't have anybody to do it with right now. So
absolutely. Yeah. And next story, got a couple more stories here we want to talk about. The iPhone 12 mini missing from the top 5 best-selling smartphone list of January 2021. According to a market data compiled by Counterpoint Research, Apple's smallest iPhones since the 2016 iPhone SE and the iPhone 12 mini have struggled to obtain a spot in the top 5 of this year. And we've been talking about this quite a bit. And according to the market data, you got the iPhone 12, you have the iPhone 12 Pro Max, yay. And then the 12 Pro, and even the 11 is still on this top 4 of the list. And then even more so, the rumors are already been. I haven't really started talking about the iPhone 13 just yet, because of course those are already the rampant rumors.
But yeah, they are. Yeah.
But they're saying potentially Apple may not even come out with a mini version of the iPhone just for that reason. So they're really not. I don't think they're too happy with its sales.
Well, I think there's two things going on here, and if it's the best-selling phones in the month of January, everybody that wanted a little phone bought it. Like they bought an SE2, or they bought it in October, November, December when they came out and they could get their hands on them. So I'm not surprised.
Not either.
But also the thing that I think people are forgetting is like it's entirely possible that they will not make a 13 mini, because they will still be selling 12. Like right now, one of the best selling phones was an 11.
True.
So I presume the entire 12 line will continue to be available in the fall of this year when the 13s come out. And whatever the next phone is, maybe they won't call it 13 because it's bad luck, whatever. But whatever the next phone is, you will still be able to buy a 12 and probably a 12 Pro, because right now you can buy an 11 and 11 Pro. So I just presume that they're going to continue to sell the 12 mini as long as they can, you know, like they did with the SE. Like the SE just sort of kept going and you could continue to buy one. So I think they'll do the same thing. So I'm not as worried about it as I think a lot of headlines would like me to be.
Yeah.
And also a lot of people who buy like the smaller phones aren't like, they're not upgrading every year. They haven't had the opportunity to upgrade every year. So the only way you're going to find out if people who buy little phones are going to continue to do it year over year is if you make a 13 mini next year. And so we'll see. But I'm not surprised at all by this information. And I feel like it's a little bit of scare tactic to get people into it, because there was a lot of pent up demand for the little phone. So everybody that wanted one like went out and bought it like as fast as they could, because they were sold out immediately for a long time.
They were.
So I'm not surprised that like they've reached supply demand balance and everybody who wanted one got one. So I'm not surprised they're not seeing the stellar sales that they had initially. Yeah.
And we talked about it with my friend Brian DePardo, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, and that was his phone. He has the iPhone 12 mini, and we would be making fun of him because Warren and I both have the 12 Pro Maxes, so we're the big boys. You got the little guy. And I mean, of course, our friend Brittany Smith too.
Yes.
She absolutely loves it, and she said what was her quote? She said, "You can't get that phone out of my hot hands.
You can pry it from my cold dead hands." Yeah,
cold dead hands. She just and so
honestly,
there are some people loving it.
I would have one if it weren't for the camera, because I got an 11 Pro last year, and the 11 Pro had such an amazing camera. I was still in love with it a year later when I got my 12. And so now I have a 12 Pro camera. And if I could have the 12 Pro camera in the mini phone, I would have had a mini and I would not have thought twice about it. And I would not feel bad about it. But I couldn't downgrade my camera. Like that was the problem. And I do take a lot of pictures with my phone. And so like actual photos, not like, here's the level that I parked on or anything. Like, I mean, I take those too, but like I take actual, like, sort of preservational pictures like I would take with a point and shoot if I had one. So I couldn't go back. And night mode is unbelievable. Like I still can't get over it on the 11 Pro, honestly. So yeah, like some pictures that I took the last time I got to go anywhere a year ago. I was like, even still, I was like, I can't get over, almost a year later, I can't get over what kind of pictures I can take with the 11 Pro. And I have even more camera now. So yeah, if I had the 11 Pro camera, even in a 12 mini, I would have bought it and not bought twice and never been sad.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, next story. This is on 9 to 5 Mac. Apple TV Plus features the highest rated content of any streaming service, a study says.
Yeah.
A new study reveals that Apple TV Plus has the highest quality content when compared to Netflix, HBO Max, Prime Video, Disney Plus, and Hulu. The analyst from Self Financial uses IMDb scores with U.S. data. So they have this grid here. I thought it was really interesting to see where all the numbers were across all the big platforms, and it looks like Apple really scored really high. Apple TV Plus on a lot of these categories, going from action, adventure, then animation and stuff. Now, you guys talked about this on the Daily Observations show.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of this? I mean, I find this fascinating.
Well, we were fascinated by it, partly because we haven't seen anyone else try to quantify like the quality of a service. One of the things that I thought that TV Plus did that was really interesting was the most, I mean, it would be high quality, but the most like 4K content, the most extra highest definition content, or however you want to cut it, like, because like everything they have is like 4K. And so the thing, like the grain of salt that has to come with this data set is that there's like, I think with movies, like there's like 70 things. So when you take that 70 things and you stack that up against the hundreds at Netflix, like the thousands at Netflix and Prime Video, and probably the thousands at Disney, you can end up with some sort of skewed numbers, which, but I did like that somebody took a crack at it. And that was the thing that Charlotte and I discussed was, somebody tried to figure out like, this is how we can do this. This is how, this is a thing that we're trying to do to measure how these services stack up. And it was really interesting to see that. So yeah. And I mean, Apple TV's has had in a year, like from November to November when it was released, like 350 nominations and like things given, and they've won like 100, like of those
Ted Lasso
300 and something. Yeah. Oh,
I love that show. I can't wait for that
like,
next season.
I look forward. I look forward to being on your Ted Lasso extravaganza when season 2 comes out.
Yeah.
I will watch it and be terribly excited. It's like, it was an interesting idea. I was glad to see somebody take a shot at it because it was a fascinating data set. And even when you keep that in mind, like, Apple is consistently rating higher. And one of the things that's interesting about that is, on its face, a lot of their stuff sounds, I hope I'm pronouncing these air quotes correctly, boring, right? Like, what people know about it is like the nature shows, and the documentaries and the dramas that are on it. And so, like, yeah, there's Ted Lasso, and, but for every Ted Lasso, there's a morning show. And so, and so on and so on. So it's kind of interesting to see that they're continuing to like swing big. The part we sort of talked about that we thought was interesting was, like, it's the highest quality service and nobody's paying for it, because Apple continues to give it away.
Yeah, I'm still getting my $4.99 credit, and I have the Apple bundle too.
Yeah,
I still get my $5 credit for it. So, so it's good stuff. So
yeah.
All right, let's move on from the news here. We got some great topics to talk about this week. Beta this week. Well, Warren not being here
again.
We can't. He missed us again here. I can't razz him about being on beta ahead of everybody else, but but I think we're getting extremely close, like we just talked about. Beta 8 was just released. To developers, really not much else to see as far as any added features. But I think you really hit the nail on the head about the fact, and I've been talking about this constantly. And I during my Apple user group, special interest group, I had a segment talking about the app privacy and how really that's been the big, I think the big thing of everything that's happening with beta, and I think that's really what's been delaying it. And so it's there's no question it's going to get announced for a final release on Tuesday. I'm almost positive. But I think it's important. I've been going on and on about the fact that Apple has really done a great job of doing this. I think it's important that we should have the choice of what information is being shared, and then that's it. I mean, Facebook, okay, you can go away, Facebook. You don't like it, too bad. I mean, they complained about it so much, and then they step back and said, "Oh, I think it's okay." So,
what's interesting about that is people who have come out of the woodwork going, "Why is Apple doing this all of a sudden? This is such a new weird stance for Apple." And the reason it was so funny is because there was a clip that went around. We talked about it over TDO. You can find a link. A clip of Steve Jobs being interviewed by Kara Swisher at All Things
That's been going crazy.
Code or something. Yeah, where Steve Jobs says, like, that's why it's up to us, because we're going to tell the user every time. And our idea of privacy is it's up to you, and we're going to ask you every time what you want to do with your data, and we're going to just keep asking you in case that answer changes. And like, to me, that sounds very, very smart, but I'm not Facebook. And so I think maybe that's part of it. Like, the thing that has been the most interesting about the whole, the data, the privacy labels, the app tracking transparency, the web tracking identifier stuff, the thing that has been the most interesting is not that people are mad about it. It's who the people are that are mad about it. And when what you find out is that Facebook, who's been giving your phone number out to anybody who wants it for like 20 years.
Crazy.
Is like, when they're the ones that are mad about it, maybe it's a good idea. Because, like, for example, the massive data leak where somebody got 500 million Facebook users' information and then let it out is interesting for two reasons. Number one, we talked about it a little bit on Security Friday over at Daily Observations, and it's interesting for two reasons. Number one, it's now free. which means whatever inherent value the person had by sitting on 500 million Facebook account information, they've squeezed all the money out of it they can. So now it's just out there for everybody. And
Right.
Facebook isn't going to tell you if your account is one of those. Facebook's like, we're not going to say anything about whether or not your account was part of the data leak. So even if you were part and somebody out there has your name and your phone number and an email address and a birthday and all your contacts, Facebook's not going to tell you that you need to take any sort of action, that you should be. So it should just be a thing. Like, you should be able to enter your Facebook account information and get a credit check to make sure nobody's getting your identity, and that Facebook should be picking up that tab. I know that would never happen, but that's like what it should. That's what should happen, and that's never going to be what happens. And you know, like, that's the thing that I've sort of noticed about this is, like, anytime Facebook comes out and clutches their pearls about something, I'm like, yeah, I'm for it. Whatever it is, if it's making Facebook mad, yes, I want that. So. It's been sort of interesting to listen to, like, advertising companies and stuff, like, get real worked up and then kind of not be so loud about it anymore. So
it's not important. It's important to us, but it's to them, they can find other ways of making revenue. I mean,
and that was the thing that I thought that Tim Cook said that was really interesting, was like, we're always looking for ways to get less data from our users in order to do the things that we need to do. So so it's absolutely not new. And so, like, watching people get worked up about it has been sort of an interesting spectator sport as a person who does a lot of commentary on Apple. Watching just people, like, watching everybody faint about it has been kind of fun. So,
but darn it, it's got to come out. It's been like forever. It just seems like this is the longest all betas it's ever been in all the years I've been covering iPhone and iOS. It's just, God, this is crazy.
I want to say that, like, iOS 4, maybe 5 had like a truckload of betas. And the only reason I remember is because I always joke about having the Star Trek movie rule of betas, which is only the even numbered ones. Don't bother with the odd numbered ones. Like, wait till beta 2, then get beta 4, then get beta 6. And like, I want to say it was either iOS 4 or iOS 5 that started getting into, like, the new Star Trek movies, because there were so many betas, and I was like, my rule's not holding up. I don't know what to do. I'm almost out of movies and I don't know what to do. So So I really need for there to be a new bit. And, like, when, again, with Kara Swisher, she interviewed Tim Cook not too long ago on Sway, and he said something about, like, 14.5 coming out in a few weeks. I was listening to it, I was like, no, because that was like last Monday, I think, that episode.
It's been a while already since that interview.
It's not fair. Yeah, I was like, how long ago did they record this? Maybe it's not as long as I think it will be.
So then this next topic, I actually brought this up on Mac Voices Live just this past Tuesday, when we were talking about we had an open way of writing a letter to Apple and say, hey, can you do this for me? And I brought this up, and I thought this was interesting to see this story. This was a couple days ago. Bloomberg had reported that Apple supposedly is developing a TV box with an integrated HomePod speaker and a FaceTime camera. And I thought this was an interesting product, since the HomePod, of course, we know the big boy got discontinued, and they're saying that they're potentially going to be a similar concept to, like, what the Roku Stream Bar does, a single device that would be upgraded to have a comprehensive multimedia system. And I could see Apple doing something like this, just because where everything is going in this market with home devices, with Google Home and Sonos is just coming out with more speakers and the Roam. I know Dave Hamilton did a great review on that product. I'm pretty happy with my Sonos Move, so I don't think I'm going to be getting that anytime soon. But so then going through all the other devices that are out there, and I think Apple's finally coming to realization that maybe this is going to be something that that would be appealing to our customers. And I mean, of course, we're hoping that there's going to be a new Apple TV, which they haven't released in, but 3-4 years, at least as an interim piece, so we can get that. We've also covered. I've talked about the potential they can finally revise that horrible remote control that it has. And we really need to do something with this. But I think this is going to be an interesting device if this does come true. That Apple will have something that will really be a cool thing to have, because some of these other devices are not so cool. Although I do have my Google Home, I do have my Google Home hub sitting here, and I do use it for the most part. I like to send over a stream, from a browser or something I want to watch, and have it off to my side here so that I'm doing work and I can watch it, and so it doesn't distract me on my computer. So, but people use those for other things too. So, yeah. What do you think? I think this is just definitely something that Apple is working on.
Well, there's a bunch in this. First of all, I don't think it'll have a FaceTime camera, whatever it is. Yeah. I don't think so, and just because I don't think so, that feels a little creepy. And after the privacy conversation we just had, I don't think Apple would be into it. Maybe it comes with and without. Maybe there's two flavors, right? I absolutely, because I talked to Dave and Brian about this on Daily Observations a while ago, and we were talking about the HomePod getting killed because Brian has a bunch of them, and Dave sort of going like, I don't think I would miss it because I have these Sonos ones, and he has a HomePod Mini that he talks to that does what he needs, and we were talking about it, and like my desire for the next Apple TV is that it comes in a stick flavor so that you don't have to have a place to put it, and both cables, like you can just have a USB cable that runs into the back of your TV if it needs power, like a Fire Stick, and all those, like you don't have to have a whole power cord and an outlet and a whole thing for it. You just stick it inside the TV and you're done. And with a lot of people, like hanging the TV on the wall, like having that, all of that cable situation happening is like not great. So not everybody has the luxury of hanging their giant TV on the wall and then putting everything in the closet behind the wall like I do, because there's a giant TV on the other side of that wall and all of the stuff that's hooked to it lives in the closet. So
that works perfect for you.
And it's great, but it's because like that's the layout that I got when we moved in here. Like that was the thing that we had, was a like an available closet behind the wall. So not everybody has that. And like when you do, like, having all the cables and stuff, like I feel like that's not a good solution, and that's not what Apple wants to do. I mean, Apple doesn't want to have cables everywhere. So I feel like so when we talked about it, one of the things that Brian said that really stuck with me was Apple's learning all the stuff they're learning about computational audio, the way they're doing computational photography and spatial audio, and how to have everything process that properly and do something really cool with it. And Dave said they're making a sound bar, and the 1-2 punch of that like really stuck in my brain. So I could absolutely see Apple doing something Roku-like, where the new Apple TV is a sound bar, because lots of people like a sound bar. Even if you have a surround system, a lot of people have a sound bar for that center channel, so that all of the dialogue and everything comes kind of out of the TV. Or like even when you're not watching movies, if you're just watching, if you're still one of those cavemen who has cable, like me, that's why I can say it.
I have cable. You're not alone.
So like if you have cable and you're just sort of watching cable television, then like having better sound come out of the TV is always a plus. And then you have like your surround for like, I'm sitting down and I'm watching The Falcon and the Winter Snowman, and I want the full surround experience, and I want to maybe rattle the windows a little bit when people are fighting. Like I have that option. So I feel like the soundbar is a really smart thing for Apple to do. And ever since Dave said that, like that's sort of lodged in my brain. And especially because Brian said like, they didn't do it for nothing. They're taking all of that knowledge and they're gonna do something with it. So that's the part that I think is interesting. And I too wish they would do something about the remote. And part of the reason I really need them to do something about the remote is because Logitech is killing the Harmony remote. And that's how I run all the stuff that lives in this closet. And so I'm really worried about what happens when that quits working reliably.
Yeah, and we could talk about that real quick. I know I saw you put that in the show notes here. I just tried for the pace of time here, but that was kind of a sad announcement that Logitech just killed off the Harmony remote. I mean, that was a 20-year device, and that device had been, obviously Harmony was its own company, and then Logitech bought them. Gosh, probably like at least 15 years ago.
It's been so long.
It was so long, and there are people who like it, and there are people who don't like it so much because it was a very complex device, and being able to control everything. It was always a nice thing during the times where we had 10 remotes sitting on our end table. I was kind of sad that it happened, but it worked, and it worked with the Apple TV, and it worked with a lot of other devices. But I think people are starting to, they're using their smartphones, they're using iPhones to control their devices in some cases, and people just want, I guess, simple remotes. I guess, and Logitech found wise. Unless you have your thoughts on that.
Well, I have a Harmony remote, and that's how I run everything. Because again, closet full of stuff hooked up to the TV, and part of what, so I, as a remote, as a person who in the before times would regularly have guests who would be at my house, being able to hand them a remote where the screen says watch TV and the screen says watch movie and play music, like having it be very obvious what things you can do. And when you push that button, it turns on all the right stuff and puts it on all the right inputs, and now you can do the thing you wanted. And having that option, mostly for people, like, it was nice for me, it was convenient, but like if I needed to do it by hand like an animal, I could with all of the remotes if that was a thing that needed to happen. Right. But I don't have to. And additionally, I have an A-lady out there, and so I can tell the A-lady to turn on the Apple TV, and she does it through the Logitech Harmony skill. And now, as much as I love the remote, whenever I got new stuff, I had a new level of hatred for the software that controls the remote, because configuring the remote made me a danger to myself and others. I hate having to try and set up that thing. I hate it with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns. And I like, from the absolute get-go, everything about it feels user hostile. It feels like a challenge. It feels like, it feels like I would be better going up in a riddle contest against a Sphinx to see if I could get this thing to run the stuff in the closet. So having to ever make a change to it drove me around the bend. But once it worked, like, that's very exciting. I have 3 of them in my house, 3 of those remotes. One of them is the smart hub with the screen, the actual screen that will change depending on what activity you're using. And I have 2 of the older ones that have the little display, and you just tell the display like what to say and push the button next to it, but it's kind of a static screen. So they are not ones that connect to a hub or anything like that. They're just some of the older remotes, and I love them. And that's why I love them, is because I can push watch DVD and it just turns everything on and does what it needs to do. However, like, if you buy a Panasonic television and a Panasonic DVD player, you can use the TV remote to run both of those things.
Right.
And more companies have made it easier for that to happen. CLC, I think it's called, something like that. Like, I don't remember what it stands for, but there's some option that you can turn on your devices, and then like the Panasonic DVD player will listen to the Panasonic TV remote, and then you're done, and you can just use that one remote for things. And between that and like smart TVs having their own skill where you can tell the Google Home or the Echo Base or your HomePod or whatever to turn things on, like, because the TV itself can handle a lot of that. I think that's probably why Logitech is getting out of this business. It still makes me sad. They said they're not going to unsupport it. They're not going to stop supporting it anytime soon, as long as people are still using it. So they're just not going to sell anymore, which is okay. But I do kind of feel like I should buy one just in case.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of people are doing that, because it's just for pure demand. So, and people are going to be gouging it on eBay too. So selling some ridiculous pricing. So. But no, I thought that was important to at least touch upon that, and it's sad.
And that's why I'm worried about the Apple TV, because like I know that remote's not great. Like the only thing I can do to improve it, I have done, which is I put a glow in the dark silicone sleeve for it. And so now, and it covers the bottom with silicone. So when you pick it up in your hand, you can tell which way is right side up, which is helpful. That's like that's all I can do. So let's. And the glow in the dark is nice when it's and I can't see it,
and you can see it, so it doesn't get if it gets in between the couch cushions.
When your couch is black, it's not an option to just not do anything with that remote.
It will blend. So next topic I wanted to touch upon is I guess I could be kind of excited. I had decided to purchase a new car. So I have a
very excited. It's a new car.
Yeah. Well, new used car, that is. But still, it's a 2018 Dodge Charger, which is
nice.
And it's got the Hemi engine, so it got the all the horsepower and the speed. But
is it warm in here?
Yeah. It was my previous Charger was a 2011, and it did. It was killing me. I just had no technology in this. I mean, back in the day of the 2011, technology was not anywhere near as it is today. So every time you want to use my iPhone and be able to hook it up and be able to play it works through Bluetooth, and sometimes it doesn't sync, it doesn't want to play. So that was a little bit of my motivating factor. And, it was time. It was time to get a newer car and a beauty at that. So of course it has CarPlay, and I'm just absolutely excited. I've only had the car 2 days, so you're getting a 2-day review that I decided to bring it up on the show this week with you.
All right.
And do you have CarPlay in your car?
No.
Okay.
No, I have an older. It's not new. Subaru Outback is what I drive.
Okay.
And it has Bluetooth. And every time I get a new phone, my phone and the Bluetooth in the car hate each other in a new and interesting way. So it's always different. With my 11, it would always connect and play whatever was playing. Even if the radio was on like radio or CD, in the background, it would connect to my phone and start playing on my phone. Yeah. So later, I'm like 5 chapters ahead in a book I was listening to, and I can't figure out what happened. And it's because the whole time I was driving around, it was playing my audio in the car to nobody, because that wasn't even the input that was selected, and the car didn't care. It was not correct. Now it refuses to connect, and so I have to tell it by hand every time to connect, and that is not better. It makes me say a lot of words I will not say on your show.
So needless to say, I was extremely excited and couldn't wait to plug it in and get it going. I'm gonna have pictures in the show notes so you can see how my dash looks, and nice. I am telling you that the interface is just absolutely amazing. Easy to navigate through the apps, whatever music you listen to, YouTube Music or Amazon Music or Apple Music, Spotify, and even though I've got MLB on there so I can go into the MLB app for baseball. And it actually brings up of course, it's not going to bring any video. You can't watch, of course, you should not be watching video while you're driving. Yeah. So, if I want to grab and listen to a baseball game, I go in there and do that. So really any of the apps that are based on audio are going to be available for you, which I was super excited about. And interface itself is easy to navigate, just like you're doing on your iPhone. You drag back and forth, and I know CarPlay's been out for quite a while, but I guess I can be excited about it since I have had it all these years. So
yes, absolutely. I am so looking forward to it. At some point, I will end up with a car that has CarPlay. I don't know when, but someday in the future, I will find. It's like when I was like a year late to Apple Pay. And so like everybody's been like bonking the phone on the thing to buy stuff forever. And I come along the following, October, and I'm like, this is amazing. Like it's the same thing.
So it does have all the mapping support. Of course, Apple Maps probably be de facto.
Nice.
But you have Google Maps, you have Waze. So any of the primary mapping services are on the screen, which is absolutely awesome.
And Audible has a thing now. Audible somehow knows when I connect to the car and I'm listening to my book or my radio drama or whatever they call it when I'm driving, because at the top there will be a banner, because I have to back out of the garage and then sit in the driveway and wait to like connect it to Bluetooth, and then I launch Audible, and then I set my phone down and go drive. And when I set my phone down, it has a banner on the top now that's like, use Waze with Audible, and so it has some sort of integration with that, so it knows it's connected to car audio. This was a thing that came in iOS 14 at some point, right, where it can classify, like there are classifications for the kinds of audio they are, so that it interacts differently if you're in car audio versus headphones versus like a speaker or whatever. So
right.
So I've seen that a couple of times lately, and like I don't use Waze for anything, so I haven't tried it out yet, but it looks like something that might be cool if I was like regularly needing to use maps for stuff.
So instead of being not so safe by looking at your iPhone on your map, now it's going to be on the display. Of course, Uconnect is the service that goes in the Dodge and the Chrysler products and Fiat and Jeep, and it also has its own built-in navigation, which I don't know if I would ever use, and I never really used it before in my old car. So you really got some great options as far as navigation goes with mapping. So so now you have choices. So I can go to three places I can go to if whatever I feel like using. I'm partial to Apple Maps, but and the directions should be good. So and the nice thing too is they've made it in such a way where it interfaces with what you're listening to. So just like they've done in the interface with the car itself with Uconnect, it'll bring the map on a small corner. Then you have whatever you're listening to for music and be able to navigate through it too as well.
Nice.
And I also have Sirius XM. So Sirius XM already is built into the radio as it is. But they made it super easy to switch too. I was able to just go from my iPhone and hit switch your radios. So I put the radio ID in and just did it right from the web, right from the iPhone. Of course, they charge $15 to do it.
That's why I never have Sirius XM, because they're like, we'll give it to you for $5 a month. And I'm like, can I have it on my phone? And they're like, we'll give it to you for $15 a month. And I'm like, we're hanging up.
Yeah. Well, but we like Sirius XM. I have it in both our vehicles. So but the other thing too is the online Sirius XM app does work within CarPlay, so you can listen to, because there are a lot of channels that are on there that won't be on a standard radio. Although when I upgraded, now I've got more channels than I had before. So so you have some great ways of interfacing. Siri really integrates it really nicely, because I can say, hey, yes, lady, and be able to get to it, or I can just right on the steering wheel. You got it integrates it perfectly with the voice recognition.
That's nice.
So it's not using it has its own, or you can integrate it with Siri directly and be able to ask her anything. And same thing with messages and the phone. It keeps you safe, because that's the first thing I worry I'm going to start looking at this thing and I'm taking my eyes off the road, but it doesn't. It gives you a good way of getting to things. When you tap messages, the S lady will come up and ask, what do you want to say to this person? So it's just a matter of two taps, messages to the person, and then you can do your message right from there. So I think it did some really good things. The customization, I have a screenshot that you'll see in the show notes as well of how to be able to organize your apps. So it just like what you do with any other apps, it allows you to be able to move them up or move them down, similar to what the control center does, with the moving things up. So it really does a good thing. But then I also did an interesting thing. I have an old Android phone that I've been playing around with for many years, and I decided I want to see what Android Auto looks like. Oh my gosh! And you see that I'll have a picture of that in the show notes too. There's just no comparison. First off, if you notice, there's an up and down arrow to the left of the screen. And that's the only way you can navigate between the apps is by tapping that little arrow there. And it doesn't give you any options at all as far as moving things around. And I wasn't surprised, to be honest, as far as it's not good. I think Apple outdid itself with CarPlay. I really do.
Well, the thing is, it looks really similar, but knowing what I know about the usability of each of these, like that's the part that's interesting to me, is that, there's a bar across the bottom with some stuff in it, on both of them. And there's only, 8 things on the screen that you can see, at a time. And like there's a maps option there, but like when you look at the Apple one with like the main stuff kind of in the sidebar there and being able to see the other stuff like that, it seems like they do look kind of the same, but knowing about how you would use that particular interface in a car is kind of interesting. Also because like it seems like the Android one is a little bit out of date. That's sort of what
it is.
Android Auto looked like when it started, I think. It hasn't been through a lot of revolution, like evolution in that amount of time. It would be really nice if maybe somebody rebuilt it in a way that would be more convenient. So
and you wonder why more people are moving away from Android and coming to our side, the iPhone side.
Apparently not everybody, because Android put out an app that says we can make your iPhone into an Android phone just to remind you how much you miss it. I don't know what it's for.
Well, if we have a few minutes, I want to talk about that. I had that in our notes too. But Calendar.
I was trying to
awesome.
hand you a smooth transition into let's talk about that for a minute.
I won't touch upon that in a sec here. The calendar is great. It gives you a nice big bright calendar on the display, so you can see what you have upcoming. It just works. I think it's just such a great way of being able to get nice control. So now when I'm in my car, I mean, I just have mass amounts of media that I can have access to and not have to even fumble with it. I mean, I use a Pocket Cast for podcasts, and it works beautifully. And it has the podcast come up, easy to get to, tap. I mean, because I would be bad. You know, I would cue daily observations to listen to, and when I'm on a long trip driving any distance, and I still you had to prep for it. You had to put it in your phone and then play it. You didn't really have a nice interface to get to it. So now it just works. It brings the convenience to that. So a lot of podcatcher apps are working with it, as well as many others. So I will definitely have a link in the show notes with the CarPlay website from Apple, and we'll also have and we'll so you can take a look at what all that's all about. And again, I was excited about it. I wanted to just kind of give my, this is only 2 days of having it, so it's pretty fresh.
It's great though.
Using it, and now I get, as I start driving a little longer distances, I think probably even be even more immersed. The now I have media galore. I probably not even want to leave the car. So. But yeah, let's touch upon that a little bit. Of the 2 articles I had in here, one of them was that Samsung, a very strange thing. We talked about this, I think, last week on Mac Voices Live, I believe. And Samsung had this thing called the eye test, where it lets you be able to try a Galaxy phone on your iPhone. I'm like, why in the heck would you want to do that? So apparently I guess the site was advertised in New Zealand, and all you have to do is there's a link you go to, and it opens it up, and it actually is a actual virtual simulated Samsung Galaxy. Very strange. I went to it and right away while we were doing the show, and I'm like, this is goofy. Very goofy. Did you tried it, right? What did you?
No, I just looked at it and went, that's
okay.
really weird, and I don't understand what it like. I didn't understand what it was supposed to do, because it just sort of looked like all of the parts of Android that I don't like.
Yeah,
I have an Android tablet that I use, and so that I'm at least passingly familiar with how some stuff works.
That's why I have the phone too, right?
And there's some stuff that I think is really cool in Android that I enjoy, that I wish would be on iOS, like. You can put an icon wherever you want on a page, and it doesn't have to be from the top left corner to the bottom right corner.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. If I want to put one like down here and I want to put one up here, I can do that. And I don't have to do any sort of jiggery pokery to space them out so that I get them where I want them, or have them bigger or smaller. If I want a great big mail icon, it'd be really nice if that were an option, and it's not. So that's the thing that I like about Android. iOS has been doing better about notifications and like being able to manage those and being able to see those. So I have slightly fewer complaints about that, but like it just sort of, it felt like all of the clunky things in Android that I find frustrating were staring me in the face. And it was sort of a like, why don't you come back? And I'm like, because that's kind of gross. Like, I don't want to do that.
Exactly. That was my exact sentiments of looking at the Android Auto. It's just gross.
Yeah, like this isn't intuitive. It's not easy to use. And I understand that like a lot of what makes my iPhone intuitive is that I've been carrying one for like 10 years. I get that. I really, really do. It's been 10 years. Maybe it's been more than 10 years. But anyway, like a long time. Like the whole reason my iPhone makes sense to me is because I've been staring at it for a really long time. So I understand that. But like it's also just sort of like the way that they chose to lay it out, it just sort of felt like, here's all the ugly parts and we're going to put them all right in front and center and show off all the ugly parts so that, to remind you why you left, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's just, yeah. I guess we just like iPhone so much, and then people probably,
and it's not that I don't want to. Like, I have an Android tablet. Like I said, I play with it regularly because I want to see what Android looks like, and there's things on it that I think are nice, and none of the things that I appreciate about Android were stuff that showed up in that app. The screenshots that I saw, I didn't install it, but like the stuff that I saw was like, those are all the parts that are terrible.
Yeah, they're not too terribly exciting. So, but all right. Well, looks like we have come to a close for the show this week. An hour has just flown by here, and I appreciate you being here, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week.
Okay.
That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and Pocket Casts. I talked about that this week. We're on there, as well as many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. And Kelly, I'm so thrilled you came back onto the show, and please tell everybody how we can find you.
All right, get comfy. No. You can find me on Twitter as Verso. You can find me every weekday hosting the Mac Observer Daily Observations podcast over at macobserver.com. You can find me over at The Incomparable, where I occasionally talk about other things I really like. And you can find me on The Incomparable with my own show called I Want My MCU TV, where I talk with Don Melton and Lisa Schmeiser about the current Marvel television show. And the new one is The Falcon, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And so we are talking about that one while it's airing. And we're really excited about the rest of them. So, yeah.
That's just find her. You can find her all great places. But
I'm not that hard to find, really.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
So, but we really appreciate everybody being here. I hope you enjoyed the show and hope you enjoyed listening. And we'll talk to you again soon. All right, got it right at 1 hour.
Oh, I forgot to mention that Jay Miller had me on the Pit show, and I was going to talk about that. Shoot.